It's all just
Right.
talk. It's just like tariffs. Everybody's talking, but nobody's accomplishing anything. It's just all talk. They got to have
Yes.
more meetings. Everyone said, "Oh, we've just been meeting all day. Now we got to take a break for a week and have another meeting next
All right.
week."
All right. Good evening, everybody. Everybody out there in YouTube and Rumble Land. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. It's Thursday. Normally I do this on Wednesday. Apologize. I'm under the weather, and we'll see where it goes from tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about a few things. We got San Francisco, and we got the wars that are going all ape shit. Everybody dying, and we have one little old president here in the U.S. that's trying to stop all that, and yet, he's getting kicked. Like we all are. There's so much whining out there, but also big earthquake in Campi Flegrei area today, 4.5. Also, a series of earthquakes up in Iceland that we can talk about, and then we'll probably close it out with. Well, we'll talk bullshit later, but I think when we're talking about the new continent that it was found here adjacent to Greenland in the Baffin Bay. Also, there's another one that Canuck's talking about. So he'll give you the details on that. Under Iceland. No, not Iceland. What the hell? Antarctica. We don't really talk about that one too much. Interesting though, the volcanoes and the line of volcanoes, and interesting. I'll tell you, we can draw some stuff about that here in the like. So be prepared. We're going hot, and we've got to get over here on twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live up and working right now. Well, they got to catch up because y'all this time you're all straight, and it might be a short one tonight, might be a longer one. I don't really know. I just know I'm going to be here as long as my back can handle it. I may take another muscle relaxer. You see there, I'm already swearing. May take another. My tongue is starting to get big. Yeah. So
I think you've had enough for a bit.
I got enough for a little bit, and hopefully I don't gotta go to the restroom because I just went. So my back's out like yours was last week, Canuck, and I got a new emoji for you. I want to send it to you. I'll try to do that while we're talking too. So be aware of that, and you'll probably like that one. Anyway, everybody, tonight with me I have one of my closest friends and brothers who's been with me for some time, Luke Clemmer, better known as the Snow King. I call him that anyway. He doesn't call him that self, but I do. And I have, of course, my cohort, and when we do these rabbit holes, New Brunswick, Canada guy who I call Canuck. Look, 2 syllables, 29 syllables. Figured out. And but let me say hi to everybody over there on Twitch. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Rabbit Hole. It's March 13, 2025. I'm wearing a pair of goggles myself because I'm super sensitive to lights nowadays. I don't know why. These are polarized, and they're blue blockers. So I'm enjoying that, and I can see really well. With me, I have Canuck, and I have different orders than I gave to Rumble and YouTube. I have Canuck, and I have the Snow King, of course. And remember, once every month we have the shit show, the first Friday of every month. Except for this, in May we're going to have 2 of them. One will be in North Dakota, where he runs a rock and roll business where if you need decorative rock or you need some dirt moved, hey, he's the guy. If you're up and around the Devil's Lake area, give us a jingle and we'll push forth those numbers to gain him some numbers and you some numbers to get it all done. But you need cement work, you need decorative rock, you just need a pile of shit moved. Well, he's the man to do it. He's got a big old loader and a little loader too, and both of those are bigger than your car and your truck. So he can move them, and that's how he changes tires on cars. He lifted up with his loader, and seen him do that. So, but I've seen him move a lot of shit. And if you don't pay, he'll squash you like a bug, or he might just put that snow right back up in your yard. That just there's the brakes. FAFO, right? But anyway, and I'm not going to talk about the biggest sponsor of the shit show. They do have a special division that I enjoy, but I'm not going to talk about it, but they've been around. Anyhow,
yeah, they have.
And that's on his show, and his show is a blue collar show, and I'm going to get Canuck, and we're gonna create a couple other shows, but you just got to get this time. You got to stop playing the game. I never see the boy anymore. He's playing this game every day. He's addicted to it, and but the shit show is a good show, blue collar show, bringing to you what it means to be blue collar and working hard and getting your fingernails dirty sometimes, and getting shit on by the rest of the world, unfortunately, because everything is inner city. It's like, hey, they got their special people, and it's all politics. Who you know. You don't really, it's like in Luke's case, his dad was a fireman, and then he was also a plumber, and Luke learned a lot of stuff about that. He had a grandfather who was working on a farm, and he learned how to use heavy machinery, and now that's what he does. He's a heavy machine operator. Runs his little business out there. I think what's the name of your business there, Luke?
Clemmer's Excavating.
Clemmer's Excavating. Like I said, you get a lot of shit moved, he's going to move it for you. But
yes, sir.
And in his show, first Friday of every month, the shit show, it's really good. It's really good. Talk to farmers, talk to electricians, talk to ranchers, talk to truck drivers. Normal workers, not these people who are pencil pushing and which isn't wrong. It's just it's a little bit different than getting your hands dirty. And
yes, it is.
And it's not for the faint of heart. You might catch an expressive phrase on again, and we're off again, or regularly.
Well, we'll just say it's blue collar language too included.
Sure. Yeah, there you go. And drinking a near beer today, only because I don't have any soda or anything or tea or coffee right now. I don't want to be up all night, so I'll drink the near beer and the muscle relaxer should finish kicking in here shortly. But over there on YouTube, not YouTube, but Twitch. It's twitch.tv/AstroSick Live. And I spoke that too fast. I'm slurring. I hear it. It drives me bananas. That's what happens with the muscle relaxer. I done hurt my back. Yeah. It must have been one hellacious crap because that's how I did it. Sit down on the pot. I don't know. It's like I got halfway down and said, oh no. Talk about having to go. Oh, shit. I've been in pain ever since, but
right.
Walking like a crab, bent over sideways, I'm glad the halls around my house are wide, or else I'll be on both sides of the walls, going down sideways. But it's painful. And what else? I guess there's Timmy's out there in Twitch land, and I know they can hear us. So,
Right.
but it is what it is. So, where are we going to start here? Luke, do you have something you found it was pretty interesting? Which right before we got on, you talked about it. You know.
Oh, now you're asking me to remember it.
Well, somebody said something, and it's breaking news, everybody. And yeah,
Are you talking about
personal letter was sent out? A personal letter, a high-ranking personal letter, going from one leader to
another.
What you call it?
A former, a current one sending a note to a former leader.
In the form of a letter, and it had one command in it. What was that command?
You're fired.
You're fired. And then also, I'm stripping all of your secret clearance levels gone. History. And so that just happened right before we were trying to get Canuck to come out here because he'd been playing hide and seek for a little bit, but that's okay, you know. And so he's going to talk a little bit about at the end there about Erebus and the whole west coast of the Americas. Interesting stuff. Stay tuned. What else we have? Hold on a second. Tell them what you got there, Canuck. What you want to talk about tonight? About
we'll talk about Antarctica later, but Iceland's about ready to erupt. Everybody thinks so. Even
is the ground swelling up again over there?
Oh yeah, it's been doing it, except slower. So Thorvaldsen thinks it's going to erupt within the next 3 days. That's the latest in his article that he talked about today.
Did that Jan Mayen quake, that 6.5, have anything with it to accelerate the magma going into the chamber or anything?
Well, some people in the chats I was in today, different ones were talking about that, but like in Wilsey's things, because Wilsey did an update on it today, and people were asking, well, is that related? And other people were showing other quakes along the Reykjanes Ridge down further, because it looks like from what whoever this person was in the chat was saying from their research, it looks like it comes up and comes down before Iceland erupts, which to me would make sense.
Okay.
Because it's kind of converging. Yep. So, well, Wilsey said he couldn't verify that because he hadn't heard any research. like, so people in the chat were saying all these different things based upon the stuff they were looking at, which I thought was interesting. So I don't know who this other person was that was saying this, if they had been researching all the quakes, like south on the Reykjanes Ridge, coming up into Iceland for like I don't know how many years. They were doing this data, I think going back, I think they said 2013 or 2014. And they were like comparing it to like when it did south and came up towards the tip of the Reykjanes Ridge there, and then what happened after. And it was usually some volcanic episode or something happened. Which makes sense to me because it's the same lineament, right? It's the same stuff we're talking about. Right. If you go on the same angle, it's northeast to southwest, right? And if you keep going right on up through Iceland, well, then it hits Jan Mayen too, right? Because it's all the same.
Yep.
Same line. And it's all the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And that's what people were arguing in the chat. They were saying, well, look, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is acting up.
Right, but so I'm showing you now on screen the current Grindavik, Sunuker, and Slingerfell, and Bourbon. There ain't shit happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing.
Are they figuring it's going to erupt in the same area again, or
Yeah,
north or
that's
south?
because the
of
uplift.
previous ones?
Yeah, the uplift
Yeah,
is happening.
yeah, they think so. But what they're worried about this time is that this is the most that it's built up so far, they think. So if it erupts, it's going to let out a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, it's already gotten to that level?
Yeah, it's already gone past
Okay.
any other level. Like if you look at all the things that they have, which Wilsey was showing them all in his report today. But there's been other people doing reports too. And the article that Thorvaldsen came out today, he didn't say what data he was looking at. But just, yeah, the
volcano
he
guy.
said
Yeah,
yeah, he never like listed any data in the article that came out, but he said based upon what he's looking at, he thinks that it's going to erupt within the next, I forget what he said, the next 3 days, I think. He said like the 14th, 15th, 16th. A few days ago, he was thinking it wasn't going to erupt till probably the 20th. But based upon the data he's looked at, whatever data he's looked at the last few days, he said it's should erupt like within the next 3 days, based upon what he's looking at. But he never listed any of the thing because the article just
So like
today.
There was a big slug of magma that went up into the chamber in the last couple of days. Then
Yeah, or it's moving up
That's
that same.
I'm trying to look that up right now. So yeah.
Yeah, this other guy that was in the chat, he said based upon the stuff he'd been looking at going all the way back to 2013, he said after it swarms out there off the peninsula, just off the coast, he says it takes 3 to 10 days before there's a volcanic eruption or episode.
All right,
so I don't know who this guy was, but that's what he was saying.
Right. So on screen right now is another Volcaholics Wild Horizons. They're on YouTube, and you'll see the far right. I'm assuming this is the level that it's going. If it's higher than any of the others, this is the one that's higher than the others. The uplift, the far right screen where you can see the 4 lines, and I'm looking for that symbol, and I think it's probably at which I'm looking for as well to continue the discussion with what you're saying. On the link from what do you call it? Iceland, where they call that special page. They have it. Iceland's people,
Yeah.
It's a government page.
talking the earthquake page?
No, the Iceland government page, where they release all the information. So that's
and
what
just Icelandic has had some real good videos the past couple of days too, because he's been there in Grindavik and flying his drone around, looking at all the cracks and stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of gas release, hasn't there? There's been
you can still see it gassing all along the fissure.
Right along that fissure, yeah.
And the Iceland Explorer guy's been showing that too.
Okay.
So there's been all sorts of people showing it the last week, few days.
All right.
And he was up walking on the wall and showing how they made the wall higher, but they're still not sure if it's going to be enough.
They made that wall 60 feet. That wall is way up there.
Because he was up walking on the top. And it was like super windy. I thought he was going to get blown off if he went down over. He wouldn't be good.
He get burned up, huh?
He was up there walking around anyway with his camera or phone or whatever he was doing to show it all. Because he was showing like where it burned up the old parking lot, because you could see part of the storage building all melted, sticking up out of the lava.
Right.
So he was like showing that, and he was showing like where the new parking lot is now compared to where the old one was, how it's inside the wall, like right next to the wall.
Yeah, breaking news, the eruption over in Kilauea stopped again. It was just kicking heavier not too long ago.
It's whatever. It's 13 or 14 now.
I got fire in Iceland. Hold on. Is this an eruption? Hold on. It's in Bourbogne or video. They're showing something. Well, Maybe it's old. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Well, it could be them showing old stuff too.
Yeah, that's the problem. Chat's disabled. It might be, well, 3:14. That's tomorrow. And it was live. It was in the dark, though. So red.
Yeah, it's there, whatever. I forget what it is ahead of us. 4, I think. 4 ahead of me. So
correct.
it's like 11:07 here. So
yeah, it's 2:07 there right now.
Yeah. I don't know if they have daylight savings time.
All right. So I don't know what he was showing there, but I did see something, a red glow.
Because I think Iceland
capture page, it's whatever. Fredrickson, I'm looking up Fredrickson right now and see if he's got the same thing.
Well, it seems like it always starts at nighttime there.
Yeah, right.
Most of the time.
Right.
That works.
And a bit of an anticlimactic down, the lighthouse just faded off really quick. Uplift, the highest it's been in since series. Long-term GPS plots. Let me see. Got some quake information. All right. All right. So I got the YouTube quake information too. I'll be sharing this with you in just a minute. I just want to not share with you, BS. EQs at the lighthouse. Looked at the decent intrusion. All right. That's what the guy who's running the Fredrickson site says. I did see some red glows. That could have been a light, car driving or something. So trying to find that out as well.
Well, once it happens, it'll be all over the place anyway.
Yeah. And like I said, it hit the top news. That's why I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
And we have that already at the Volcanholics.
Yeah, then NATO will have to have a meeting in Grindavik. See if they can negotiate a ceasefire with the volcano.
No shit, right? I'm not seeing a whole lot of earthquakes, tell you the truth. So, I don't know.
The swarm was earlier. It was already starting to die off when Wilsey did his report.
Right. I saw that too. But I was referring to right now. So I was looking at the most up-to-date information I can get. So, that's that. But, yeah, I know I have yeah, that's working links and my links here. I know I have the other one. But the strange happenings up in Northern Cal. What have you seen on that one there, Canuck? We've had over 2,000 earthquakes up in Northern California. Small, but a ton of them are on the San Andreas and the Calaveras Fault, and then up there at Clear Lake Volcano. And I think we understand the Clear Lake Volcano ones, but what's your take?
Well, it's the same thing going on down in LA by what I read today. There's another article about that in the last year. So they were comparing it to up north, and they were saying, well, it's basically doing the same thing in both. So like the whole thing right from the top, ever since like the 7, well, even before the 7.
Correct. The 7 was off of Portola. Yeah. Then the 7.6 happened off of Honduras, which is also off Guatemala on that plate boundary of the of that. And then we had a nice large 6.1 up in Svalbard with several.
Well, you could include Seattle and Vancouver doing.
Vancouver had that interesting little 5 or whatever it was. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of activity on the boundary, the North American boundary. which travel or traverses from Central America in the south to Russia in the north to thank you to Japan in the east, and the west would be what are those little islands called out there? Because they were quaking too, weren't they? This last week. In the middle of the Atlantic, the Azores. So there was some quakes happening out there. We talked about
that's
that.
what that guy was saying that was in the chat I was in. So he was talking about everything from like the Azores up to Iceland itself. And then other people were talking about Jan Mayen, saying, well, is that connected too? Because it's all the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, but Wilsey didn't want to get into that. It's too controversial. All these people were saying all this stuff, and were saying, why is it doing this when it does this? And
yes, sir. So we're a little bit more free to talk about it here.
Yeah. So
only because that's what we do. We're not saying we're the experts. We're saying that this is a place where if you can present an idea and have a little bit of evidence to support that, we can discuss it. And but if you're just gonna talk at you're the only one that can research the information out because you have no articles to prove it, then we have to say, well, that's your opinion, and this is why you think the way you think, and that's okay too. So I'm not trying to, squash anybody's opinion, but an opinion's not a viable, real concrete, repetitive event caller or whatever.
Well, and what is interesting since the Jan Mayen thing, there's been how many fives in Alaska on the opposite side?
Yeah, like we had that one right. What is it in the sea? What was that today or yesterday?
Yeah, and there was one there, North Alaska, just this afternoon or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one yet.
Another 5. So it's like all adjusting on the opposite side.
Well, that's what we're looking for because that's what we've noticed on how things work. I can't find the Iceland earthquake site here on Iceland. Icelandic Meteorological Office. That's what I was looking for, man.
Yeah, I think they had a new Met Office update today too.
Right, March 14th, yeah. Looks like on Friday there are several quakes. Not a whole lot. It's not swarming by them anyways. But we did have a swarm right on the end of the Rick James, didn't we, today?
Yeah.
Rick James Ridge. Where's Sunuker? Catalog of volcanics, tremor measurements, strain measurements, deformation. Probably tremor measurements might be one. Oh, not found. Volcanoes? All right. Yeah, there's definitely a series of volcanoes, but we'll just try to. And I'm looking for that particular box that I'll show you, bud. It's this box right here, the white one. Do you know where that is there, Canuck? Where we can see the intake into Iceland's volcano. I don't want to show anybody's chat, so pardon me there.
Oh, just wait, I gotta switch to the thing to look at it.
Yeah. I know I used to have it, but yeah, I don't I'll open up that one. Nice update. Sean Wilsey 4 hours ago. I'm not seeing it. I know the Icelandic people, they have it. James Peninsula. Well, infrastructure on using earthquake pages. I want to look at the uplift, Iceland uplift. Iceland uplift. Ground magma accumulation uplift. Here we go. All right. Here's the article here. Ground lift and magma accumulation continue beneath Svartfjallsvingi. Updated the 19th of November. What? That's 24, boy. That's old. Dang. Well, it's the same. Okay, it's the same place. Why can't I find a more updated version? News?
You got the current chart on that, Canuck?
He's looking
I
for it.
know,
To show the uplift there?
I know, but Wilsey was showing it today in his video.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can always.
It's one of the stations. I just don't remember which one it is.
Right. I've got so many links that it's very difficult to find it. Expected of a new eruption in the Sunooker Crater Row is ongoing. That's March 11th. Today,
Some of the stations were messed up because of the storms and stuff they had there the last couple of months. So some stopped working. So that one you were looking at was probably one of the ones that
they've got bad weather too, so that's part of what's happening. Publications, probably under publications, right?
And he had a chart that showed it in comparison to all the other ones, all the previous ones.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You could see that how it was going up was higher than all the other ones.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for, that chart.
Yeah.
Earthquakes. It's not under hydrology. No. Avalanches. Pollution. Weather, earthquakes. Yeah, I can't find it.
Because they had like each of the lines colored different, so you could see.
Yeah. It's a chart they use.
Yeah.
I used to have the link to it where they just update it,
Who knows? Maybe they changed the links.
Yeah.
But he gets them all sent to him anyway, so he knows which ones to go to. Because there's so many people doing all this stuff. It's just crazy town.
It's the eyesore. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's the geothermal is our forte, Iceland. Their projects. Nordic, no, well, I need to do either. Strain measurements, tremor measurements, deformation. That's the one. Deformation measurements.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Iceland eruption list there, and they have all the newest ones in it too. Up to the very last one.
Well, nothing came up on me, and I do have it saved too. So,
I don't know. Who knows? They probably changed the links or something.
It's under Iceland. I don't know where the hell Iceland is. I'll have to look at my bookmarks. Find Iceland. I think it's under here.
I thought there was like a good 3D model that they had out.
They do. They do. And I'm just trying to locate that link again. Imperial Utah Cordillera.
Well, they said one of the sites they were going to shut down. So I don't know if they have yet or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Because
was.
whoever was maintaining it wasn't going to do it anymore. Or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
because it's a black screen right now.
Yeah. Because people were talking about that in one of the other chats, trying to ask people what should we use since they're not going to have this one anymore. And they did it for some of the cam sites too, live cam sites.
Oh, really?
People aren't doing them. Yeah, if you go on the Iceland volcano things, they're talking about all. And then they give you, well, I haven't been paying as much attention to it, so that hasn't been doing it.
You got your game, dude. Come on.
Well, I'm still doing all my other stuff too.
Yeah, but not the same. Not the same.
Wow.
It's okay. It's okay. You're allowed, bud. Come on now. You're allowed. You got to have something that breaks the monotony.
It's just that I'm doing all my other war and tariff things now too. So
Yeah, I know. Funny how Trudeau was like gone in a day right after the things kicked in.
Yeah, well, he's actually gone tomorrow, but he has to go see the Governor General, say goodbye to her, and then Carney's in by lunchtime tomorrow, officially. And he's electing or picking a new cabinet, and he's getting rid of over half the ministers. So he's only going to have 12 now instead of 35. So he's cutting it way back.
How can he do that?
Well, that's how it's always worked when they pick the cabinet. The prime minister decides how many cabinet members he wants. That's how it works. So some have like a few, and then sometimes they have like a whole bunch because they just make up a cabinet member, a minister of whatever, and then that's what you are. Minister of backwoods country.
Yeah. How did that dude that's going to be replacing Trudeau, how did he slide into that position?
Oh, well, he's WEF. He's been over in England for 20-some years. So he's part of the UK. He's one of their main advisors on banking and environment, climate change. Has been for years. So he's WEF. He's like on the main thing about carbon taxes and making the world pay a carbon tax.
Yeah, he needs to be too.
Yeah, and making all the big businesses pay even more. So that's what the plan is for Canada now, because he said he's getting rid of consumer carbon tax, but now he's going to make all the big businesses pay.
Look, you guys pay 55% tax up there already. You know, you guys are sorry, you're fucked. Till you decide that you don't want these guys running your shit no more. You know?
Yeah, but the problem is now, if you go by what the polls say up here, the conservatives and liberals are in a tie. So it keeps going like what it is.
No, that's why.
Side. So we'll see what happens.
That's a lie.
Everybody's mad about tariffs and Trump right now up here. So
hey, then take them off of North America. Let free trade happen in North America, Mexico, U.S., and Canada. But no, you guys don't do that. I've seen the taxes that you guys charge us. It's freaking incredible.
Well, every country does
300% on milk.
Different products. It just depends on what it is. Crazy? Like this has been going on for years. It goes back to the.
Well, that's the problem. You know, it's like, look, you guys don't kick into our. I think you guys do, not you per se, the government. Okay, when I say you guys, I'm talking about the government specifically. I love Canadians. I think they're wonderful people. I have no problem with the Canucks at all. It's your government. Your government it's what we just got rid of, and we're still working to get rid of it. And you guys, oh no, you're like Australia. You're fucked. until you guys get off your butt. This is not
every-
what we want anymore.
Every country is screwed by all the things I've studied. It's not going to matter
Well,
either way you look at it. And I've studied the 200-year history of the U.S. and Canada doing tariffs. And every time the tariffs go high, it doesn't matter which side it's on. It ends up in economic collapse and war every time.
Yeah, I saw what you
basically
posted.
what's happening right now.
I saw what you posted, and what happens is Canada's got to say, hey, and I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to save. I mean, if it was money to money, right, or dollar for dollar, our economies are. I mean, ours is way bigger. I mean, way stinking bigger. But I don't know what your wages are over there versus the wages are here. I don't know what I've heard your taxes are like 55% on business tax. It's like, holy, even on personal income tax. You're giving 55% of your income to what?
Well, before World War I, there was no income tax in either the U.S. or Canada.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. It was all tariffs.
Yep.
So
and it's from 5% to 50%. That's usually what the range was when it started in 1790 in the States, and then Canada copied the same thing.
Right. So
it was the Republicans that started the whole tariff thing in the States.
Well, the Republicans didn't start until Abraham Lincoln. He's our first Republican. So 1865.
Well, yeah, they call it whatever.
All right. So yeah, to get it straight there, 1865, our first guy was, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, but tariffs actually
was created to sideswipe him, and then the Democrats. Democrats were good people. They were progressive until about 1910, 1912, when the commies fucking took them over, and they've lost the way ever since.
War, the South wanted free trade with Britain, and Lincoln wanted tariffs. So that was another reason, part of that war too. So it's pretty interesting.
He was trying to change our incomplete economy in the South. They couldn't do it because they had slaves, and if you got rid of the slaves, their economy in the South would go belly up.
Because the British were actually the ones
that was all about
trade in the first place. Because that's what they used in order for all the British colonies. And then when you didn't go along with what they said, that's when they used tariffs. So that's like the Boston Tea Party stuff and all that stuff too. So this tariff thing goes way, way back. So it's pretty interesting when you actually... Once I
started way before our time, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
It goes way back. And when tariffs first started in the States, that's what the U.S. Coast Guard was created for, was to collect the tariffs off the ships that were coming in with stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So the U.S. Coast Guard was the first IRS, really.
There you have it.
That's what it was created for. So that was 1790. So 22 years between the War 1812, which the War 1812 started because of tariffs too. It's pretty interesting. And when I started reading about 1812, the U.S. raised their tariffs 25%, just like it is now. And Britain and France and everybody got mad.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's why the EU just put a bunch of tariffs on us. The EU has treated U.S. like shit for a long time. Well, guess what? We don't care no more.
Yeah, but every country does that.
That's you're going to have to get used to getting. You're going to have to get along with Putin. There's no two ways around it.
Well, Putin's not getting along with anybody, so it doesn't matter.
Well, you know what? The U.S. and the Europe putting NATO on his border. Hey, you don't want it.
But Putin's going to do it.
And we're flirting with, my current president is he's saying, look, you guys are flirting with World War III. What the hell are you doing?
World War III is coming one way or the other because China's working on their plan.
Yeah, I know. They're gonna take over.
They're only about 15 years behind us.
Yeah.
Because it's all about control and natural resources. That's what it's always about.
Mm-hmm.
So it just is a question of who is on top at whatever time. But
take the demand away, and it's gone. Take that demand away for whatever that is, those particular resources. Find something else that is more intrinsic to society, that has a larger a base where it's easy for everybody to get. It'll kill all their economies. Bam, blow it up. So,
Good luck with that on oil or natural gas or
right.
Any fossil fuel. I mean, if they started really seriously today, I mean, in 30 years, you might be able to run some of the bigger cities on total electricity and have the power to be able to charge all these vehicles and keep the power going for everybody without.
Well, what if there's another technology other than electricity?
Well, to be invented, I guess.
Sure. We didn't have anything on the bomb. I think it started. The technology started like in almost 1939, right before the war. The Germans were playing around with it, and we kind of stood abreast of it and watched what they were doing. Took their ass out, so they couldn't do it. They couldn't make the hard water or the heavy water or whatever, and a bunch of other stuff. And then we grabbed those guys, helped us create rockets, and that technology grew. And they created the bomb, and then they created rockets, and they went to the moon. They did this within 20 years. 1945 all the way to 1965, right? I think we started going into space, right? So technology in 20 years can move pretty damn radically when you put your damn minds to it.
Well, if we had the same technology the ancient peoples had when they built the pyramids on the ley lines or lineaments, and had wireless power.
I wonder if the ley lines weren't stronger then, and I wonder if the electromagnetic planet wasn't stronger then. As our core gets weaker, as before the flip over of the polarity
of the pole. Yep.
Yeah.
I think
so. We're only talking what 2,000 years, or actually the pyramids were made like 17,000 years ago, and they say, oh no. Well, whatever. Because they went down. Anyway, we can get over all that.
I think they were smarter than us back then because we have power, but it's wired.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the battle between Tesla and the wired power people a long time ago.
Yeah, and they killed him, right? Yeah.
And that's why he was taken out.
Yeah, unfortunately for him.
So then we had wired everything, telephones. Well, technically we still do because fiber optic cables. If you had wireless power, it'd be hard to cut it. You wouldn't be able to cut any cables with your scissors.
Wired power is harder to tap. So unless you got a device that can read it, the electromagnetic stream on a wire.
Well, then you'd have to have something to intercept the signals, which
Yeah.
you have now.
So
because technically the satellites, whatever we're sending the satellites is wireless, but when it gets back to the ground to go from point A to point B, they're still using wired stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So that's why all this stuff doesn't like our wired networks we have when the sun goes haywire or whatever. They don't play well together because they're opposite systems. One's wireless and the other's wired. So they're not going to agree. Or one's not going to agree with the other and not get along. There's no ceasefire in wireless wired power.
Right.
Never has been. It's still in conflict.
Well, Alcoholics is the only one I can see that he has this thing now. And probably, where does he get it? The data is from Raspberry. Maybe it's this one.
Shake or something.
Or this one. Or this one. All right.
I don't know. Everything's all changed since the last eruption because that's when they've been talking about all this stuff, people not keeping it up or
Right.
whatever. So it's all been since the last eruption.
That was that website that had because I went to it, I couldn't get through because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Or it's not publicly available or something.
Correct. You got to pay for it or something.
Yeah. There's somebody who's still doing it, but
Here it is.
stop doing it. It's too much hassle and
North, east. Here's the uplift. So I've got the uplift. So share this tab. All right. Here's the uplift, but it doesn't compare them. But this is the current uplift patterns. Up, east, north, right? So it is on the rise from 0 to 200. I don't know.
And a couple of the live webcam sites got shut down, and I stopped doing them because it was costing too much money or something. I don't know what to do. It was in all the chats. I just got tired of it after a while. I said, "Oh well."
Right.
Something. So I'll just wait till it erupts again and then find it on something.
College EQ, damn it, me belongs in Iceland. Yeah, I found the one where it tells about the quakes, and there isn't. I mean, the last 6 hours is 50 earthquakes. That's pretty significant, but they're all primarily on the very end. Here, I'll show you the tab. Right here.
And I'm not going to worry about Camp Flegree erupting until we get 2 more 7s in the Caribbean, because that's what it did in 1538 before it erupted last time. So I thought that was interesting because always when Vesuvius blows up or Camp Flegree, it's always the Caribbean always has like 7s.
Huh.
Well, I just had a 7.6. The Caribbean did.
Yeah, but it's like 2 or 3, all within like a year's time, or all within a year.
Right.
Haven't had that yet.
There was one that was just north of Puerto Rico, out in the middle of the sea there, and it was like, I don't know, 6.5. That everybody was like, "What the hell?" And yeah. But nothing. The mid-Atlantic, when it does its thing, mid-Atlantic nearly wiped out all life on Earth. Not too long ago. A couple 140 million years ago, 120 million years ago.
And there was three big quakes in the Caribbean in 1690 when southern San Andreas last went off too. So that's pretty interesting.
Well, that makes sense.
So it's pretty good stuff.
I'm gonna eat my supper right now too.
In 1692, Jamaica had a big quake, so that's coming right across because the one in 1690 was out Lesser Antilles, and it was a big quake and tsunami. I think it was high 7 or 8. So the same year that the San Andreas went off. And there was a big quake in the Amazon that year too, 1690. Like in the middle of Brazil, in the jungle.
Oh?
Yeah. Because I looked that one up before. When I was trying to figure out 1690. That was before I found the GIA list. And then it just added in all the other ones that I didn't know about.
Let me see. Yeah, see, it's clickbait. Ain't nothing happening out there.
And I've been trying to bring up the San Francisco study on this computer, but it won't let me. It won't give me a copy of it. My other one, they sent it to me in my Google Mail.
All right.
It's from 2014. But it lists like all the ones they've figured out on all the faults around San Francisco going back to 1600.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about that earlier. That's why, on YouTube, there's a lot of people who, create these videos and they try to scare people so they get video watch. That's just not something we've ever really kind of, promoted. But
Well, you can get scared enough just reading the actual scientific studies. I don't think that's why they're doing them, but that's what people do. All the quake people, because they're trying to figure out what happened before, when it was, what year it was, what it did. And they've been sending me all the Goldfinger ones too, but he must not still be done the Southern San Andreas ones, because he was working on that like 2 years ago, but it must not be released yet because I haven't got any of that.
Yeah, it takes a little while for them to release one. What I'm looking here is I believe a GPS setting, and as I go from 21 all the way to 22, you can see the movement of all the GPSs, right? And they're spreading apart, moving a little bit north here on this sector. But these in the longer lines are faster, all right? So as we get closer to 22, December, and then 23, these all stop and this southern portion starts up. And in 23 is when the first, activity started. And you can see there's a little bit spread and really fast spreading at the top, a little bit less as you move down toward the south. And this is at September 16th. I think in 23 it started in November, October, something like that. And we're looking at the GPSs. Then look at that. November. Did they move or what? That's pretty insane right there. Everything's shifting to the north. And if that's shifting to the north in 23, right, then we got it really moving in 24. Huge uptick, right? And then we get, it's just moving like crazy, spreading away from this region. And that's at March 12th. That's how far, or the direction it's moving pretty radically. I don't know what the green ones mean. Scaling, that's one time, so. Well, anyway, I don't know what their green ones mean. Maybe they can tell me. No. I think this is really a telltale sign that the green ones are moving away, the yellow ones are moving away, and what's in the middle is all the activity. Down in the center down here, here's Grindavik, right? It's on the southern section that's actually moving away. So the uplift and the spreading is definitely in this region. And you can see where the, cracks have happened, right? Here's the main activity area. And Lagafell, right? Here's the Blue Lagoon and whatever. So the magma went all the way around. So interesting. And up here, see some directive movement, right? I don't know what that big red one is. And as we move over to central Iceland, everything moving north, right? A little bit moving south. But this stuff on the bottom half is moving dead south and southwest, or southeast, sorry. This moving away from it is moving into North America. All of this is moving into North America. This is moving into the North American plate, okay? Interesting that even out here is moving away. So, but clearly the southern half. And looking at that, I have another image to share with you. And here's this one here. I'll be Climber joined. He got dropped off, I guess. Drag to reorder? Oh, don't worry about it. There you go. You all right now, Luke? You can't hear me.
Oh. Is he on mute or something? Or,
right? Say hi, Luke. Hi, Luke. Oh, he's saying hi. All right.
Oh, still there.
Yeah, he's like me, just sitting here trying to stay warm. Well, this is interesting here. Here's all the quakes. Like I said, 49 quakes in the last 6 hours. And they're throughout the Iceland, right? And there's another I wanted to share with this. Yeah, I hear you back now.
Yeah, you hear it now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
What happened?
My power went out and it killed my Wi-Fi. And then when I came back on, my volume wasn't there.
Oh, that's not good.
Technology, gotta love it.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
All right, so remember where all the GPSs were going, right? This is all the volcanoes in Iceland. This southern half is moving into Europe, right?
Yeah, because of how the Mid-Atlantic Ridge goes.
See, these are the ones right here, right? Here's the big ice right there, right here, right? Grimsvatn. I don't know what there it is. Can't even call that Rhina. And then this one over here. I think my favorite one's up here, right?
Which is why, especially the eastern volcanoes go crazy, you get the big quakes in Europe, right? Because that's the European, they're on the European side.
So that southern half of the volcanoes, these are the volcanoes here that are moving into Europe. These ones over here, if I went back to one, share this tab, they're not. They're moving actually north. Only the southern portion is moving south. Even along just north of Grimsvatn, everything is moving north. And then we also have this sector over here, right? That's moving south. So there's kind of a separation, right? All the way out to here, right? All right before Grimsvatn. Even Grimsvatn is moving south, right?
Yeah, so it's pushing Europe into the African plate, right? So that's why you get
pushing it up and over, yeah.
So that's why you get the big quakes that we were looking up in Italy and all those other ones when volcanoes are going crazy in East Iceland. Correct. And it also happens on the East Coast and the West Coast of North America too, because it's close enough to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge where it's adjusting on both sides when it goes nuts.
So basically, we have all this area right here is moving south. All of these are moving south. All of these are moving south. Everything else is moving north. So
and I imagine if you look at all the stuff in the Azores, like when there's eruptions, I started to before, but it was just too much stuff. It would take me forever to go through it. Usually when you get quakes in Virginia, New York, and all that, Azores act up too, because it's coming across that way, and it's also coming down from Iceland as well. So you're getting multiple components to make a notable quake on East Coast U.S. And of course, the West Coast adjusts to that too. It's all
and I'm seeing the Grindavik mosaic. I'm not seeing any activity out here. All right, here's the vibrations, and just a couple little ones. So this will peak up significantly before you can even see it starting to get daylight in this one.
Yeah, well, the last time it didn't do too much right before, and then it just
started. It just all of a sudden, wham. So we'll be watching for that. Now, interesting enough, Campy Fleggery, as we talked plenty about Grimsvatn. Campy Fleggery, this is from Fibro. You can look him up over there on YouTube. His channel covers this. He covers several other ones as well. But this is a sequence of earthquakes that have happened. And one of the largest ones right there in middle, right, in Campy Fleggery. And let me see, turn this one on. I'll probably have to go 7 days on this one. Unless it's still there and it can't be Fleggery. Yeah, USGS doesn't cover a whole lot. Right. 7 days off. Yeah, they do have the Campy Fleggery one. So I'm going to share this tab instead. Campy Fleggery is basically Vesuvius. And we kind of look at this area. We look at down here in Etna, Stromboli, and Vulcan. We look at all these series of volcanoes because they're along a certain plate boundary. And interesting enough, they're all very busy. And this one, here's a Vesuvius, and here's Campy Fleggery out here. This is all one huge caldera. But Vesuvius, we went through what the sound wasn't that great, but the content was pretty good. We went through a lot of content on the eruptions of Vesuvius from 1500 BC all the way up to modern day. And you can check that out you can find it on Rumble. You can find it on YouTube on Joe Slick Live on YouTube and The Rabbit Hole on Rumble there. But this quake was a 4.2 that happened yesterday. Shook a lot of people up. What? And all the fear people are out there popping off. And I'm going to see what I would call this earthquake. What's the weight on it? Even 0.25%. 4.5, 4.8, 4.5, 4.8, 4.7.
Well, they had a 5+ there in Naples in 1883, and it was acting up then.
Right.
It's kind of what it is now, but
so I got this as a high 4, mid to high 4. I don't have it as a
but that was the biggest quake it had. Then after that, it calmed down.
Right. And also what happens with when Vesuvius goes off, what we'll see earthquakes on the heel of Italy, and we'll see them out here. But also we'll see it up in here, right? And then we'll see it up in north, right? So just looking at the USGS, hey, what the hell happened? That is the USGS. All right, 7 days, good. We're not seeing anything on USGS, unfortunately. That's all magnitudes. So nothing at this 4, and even a 5 would happen out here, and Vesuvius would go off. It is so intrinsically connected to earthquakes that trend down, up and down the entire peninsula of Italy. So when you see 5s banging up and down over, a year period, you can almost bet 100% that Vesuvius will act up, or one of the 3 or 4 other major volcanoes. Etna, which is erupting already. It's kind of erupting out the side, last I checked. Stromboli is acting up. We watched some fireballs go down the face the other day. So Very interesting connection. And we often, Canuck and myself, we often look. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. So we'll just a refresh, and there we go. We'll often look following north into Iceland, and we see these events happening up here in Svalbard. This is a Svalbard 6.5 that moved the entire North American plate and the Eurasian plate. It moved it. And we have down here a 5.3 on half of Portugal, which really I was like, whoa. This one happened on 3/9, right? This one happened on 3/11. Now, Spain and Portugal have had major earthquakes out here. And it just so happens it was how long ago, Canuck? What was the year of the earthquake?
55 was the biggest one. But
1755, yeah.
Yeah, but there's another one.
We did that study. Yeah, 5 years later, it had another 8. So 2 8s out here on the plate boundary. What had happened is we saw a progression of earthquakes over a few years that traversed the entire Mediterranean out of Turkey, hitting Cairo area. Now, I think Cairo just not too long ago had an earthquake, right? 30 days? No. Down here it was, right?
Yeah,
February.
Ethiopia.
Yeah, Ethiopia. Also, the rift in Africa, hey, it's busy as all get up. You know, lots and lots of fires. Bang, 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 bang in here in Ethiopia. Also up here by the other volcano, right? It just happens to be out of the news right now because it's Africa. Nobody cares. I do, but nobody cares. They do. Anyway. Also, Santorini. That has calmed down substantially. Right? So we're watching the movements of the plates. That's kind of how we draw some conclusions, some ideas, some thoughts. We say, hey, earthquakes just don't happen, randomly. In a sense they do, but they don't. There's a progression. You like Canuck has a really good visual. Why don't you explain that visual about how the plates work there, Canuck? How you describe it?
Yeah. Well, when the quakes happen on the mid-Atlantic ridge and it's spreading, well, what it does, it nudges the plates. Because how I understand it is like how ice breaks apart and moves like on a frozen river. So to me, it's the same thing like what the plates are doing. So when a quake or an eruption or whatever happens on any of the spreading ridges, it's making all the plates adjust to it from wherever that quake happens. Usually opposite across from where the big quake or the swarm or whatever happens, because it'll do it even with swarms. So if you get a whole bunch of 5s, like say near Iceland, usually on the opposite side of the plate, it adjusts with like a big quake, so like a high 6 or 7.
Right. And in looking at this map, the orange ones are the most recent, the yellow ones are a little bit further away, and then the white ones are yet further yet. So you can clearly see what's happening in the world right now with the orange ones, right, where they're located, primarily around the Fiji, around Timor, Taiwan, Myanmar, and China, Kazakhstan, not Kazakhstan, but Pakistan and China up in here, right?
Yeah.
And then it's these are larger quakes, mind you, 2.5 and above, or 4.5.
Once I understood how many plates there were, so you have all the big ones, and then you have all the micro plates.
Right.
You can see how the quakes are all around the edges of them, even if they're ancient.
Right.
because when it quakes on one, there's a bunch of other ones that adjust to it. So of course, the greater or larger the quakes, the more it adjusts. So that's why when you have like a 9,
Did we lose you?
Oh,
I think we
his
may have
volume.
lost him. Yeah, I think we lost him.
Well, I wanted to ask Canuck,
Yeah, he's
with the 6.5 that happened up by Svalbard, and we've had the 7.6 down by Puerto Rico, or on that Caribbean plate boundary.
right here. I got it.
Um, would he expect a big, when you guys were talking about like Portugal and the Strait of Gibraltar, where they've had the big 7s and the low
Yeah, a
8s
couple
out there?
eights. Yeah, a couple of 8s right there in off of Lisbon. Yeah. So right here, you're
Would he be
talking about a
expecting
line.
to see?
Well,
Would he be expecting a quake in the,
it's always
is it
something.
kind of
Well, I'm going to let Canuck answer that, but with a preface of what I'm about to say. We've looked at the 1755 earthquake, and we did several rabbit holes on those. We always touch back to that one because that's something that is real close to be able to say, hey, look, we can see a progression, right? And so we constantly look for that same kind of progression, and in Europe, as we do here in the Pacific, because when you start to study these things and you start to hear the same dates come up and these same locations, and it's like, hey, wait a minute. That's why we kind of limit ourselves down to 1 to 2 years, because it would get really crazy if we went 5 years out either way.
right. And another thing, we've back a couple years ago, we had them 2 high 7s out in Turkey with that pressure pushing directly at that Strait of Gibraltar line too.
Well, I think that's part of what's happened this year with Stromboli. Not
yeah,
Stromboli.
because we're 2 years out from the Turkey quakes.
Yeah,
because they were February
Yep.
And
2023.
those were high 7s.
Yeah,
if
so
not
it's
8.
still coming across. Yeah.
Right. I mean, this series of quakes that were out here off of Greece, I think that's a direct relationship to the 7s that were in
Like
Turkey.
I don't know if you added up all the swarm of quakes there, if it would make a 7.
Oh.
I don't know or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, USGS doesn't give us a whole list, and I'm not very good at pulling from.
No, INGV
The
would
other
have
ones.
to add it all up. You'd have to look in their stuff.
Yeah.
But they would keep adding it up until the swarm finally stops, right?
Right.
To figure out what it was in total.
Right.
Which is
Now,
still going.
yeah, USGS does not have anything in the last little while, so they're virtually done. I think the last one is the newest first was the 9th of
Well,
March.
I know what happened in 1755. I can go over that really fast.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so in 1755, if you just start with that year, well, we went back and did 1754, so I'm not going to talk about everything in 1754 because that was like Egypt, Turkey, big quakes, 1754 coming across. But in 1755, when I first started looking it up, like I'd studied the Lisbon quake, like all sorts of different times, but I didn't clue in about Iceland until I started studying Iceland, which was in 2020. I started looking into all the information on Iceland. So in 1755, they have a conference every year in North Iceland, or every 2 years. I think it's every 2 years now, where they talk about all the historical quakes in Iceland.
Right.
And so from those conferences, they get all together and talk about all the quakes that happened years ago, trying to figure out where they were. Like where they were. So from that information, I found out in 1755 in the middle of September. So they think around like September 15th or something like that. 1755, there was a 7+ off North Iceland up there in the Tjornis fracture zone.
Okay.
Just Icelandics talked about it before in some of his videos. And because he lives up there in North Iceland, right? So he's into all that stuff. But so anyway, they figured that was a 7, and it was September 15th, around September 15th, 1755, because people felt it on land. So they figured out anyway from studying up there, the Tjornis fracture zone off North Iceland, that they think it was a 7 at least.
Right.
So then a month later, Katla blew up, and it was a gigantic eruption, October 15th, 1755. So like a month after this 7 above Iceland. And it was really bad. It made ash, and it fell in Scotland, and it's not good. Well, 2 weeks after that, November 1st, 1755, was the Lisbon, Portugal megaquake and tsunami.
And that was what, an 8.1?
Well, they think
the first one was an 8, but
yeah,
I'm not sure now.
they think it was like in the 8s, but they debate on like if it was a mid 8 or high 8 or low 8. I know the tsunami thing they did a couple years ago, they did the estimate on that for the tsunami exercise was 8.6. So that's what they based it on. And they were using the data, all the data that they had from 1755. So
yeah, there was on that series of quakes in Lisbon there was a quake interiorly first and then the one outside. So
yeah, they're not sure like how many it was. There was one big one, but then they think there was like 4 shocks and aftershocks.
Yeah, the foreshock was in like northern Portugal, the Cambria, and Porto. They felt that first, and then there was some problems in Lisbon,
Morocco, Algeria, like
I
think a year after that too. So like 1756.
And then we have the
Germany's biggest quake was right after, I think in 1756 too. The biggest quake in Germany recorded. Comes right down the same line as what I found with other things when I studied it, going from Iceland down. That's another story. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so to finish off 1755, that there was another big quake right off Massachusetts, which they think was a high 5 or low 6. Cape St. Anne, Massachusetts, was like November 16th, I think it was. So on the opposite side, across from where Lisbon was, like whatever, 2 weeks later, it adjusted on the other side, on the North American plate off Boston. So you can look all that stuff up.
Okay.
And people have been trying to figure that out for years because they saw that Cape St. Anne one happened like right across from Lisbon, all within like a couple of weeks of each other. But of course, they weren't figuring in all the Iceland stuff at that time.
Yeah,
which we do now. We have all the database.
You have to kind of remember too that the idea of one quake creating another quake, that's new to the USGS.
Yeah,
that's only like a couple of years old. That theory is they didn't believe what one quake could create another quake.
No, they've always said that one is not related to the other because they're focusing in on a specific area rather than seeing how all the areas are connected. Because
they look at it as an event, one specific event, and they drill down into it, and tear it apart, and then they can articulate that one event, but they don't see it in lieu of other events.
Yeah, because we can do it now because they have all the data. And this is like what they're seeing now with the satellites. So they can see how everything is all connected now with our new stuff. Which when I talk about the Antarctica thing, it'll make even more sense.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy all the stuff they can do now. Because they have the actual map showing it without any ice.
Yeah, the LiDAR.
So you can see like where all. Yeah. Well, it's not just LiDAR. It's from.
Is it from satellite too, right?
Yeah, it says satellite and all sorts of different things. And so you can see like where the water was before there was any ice, because you can see like all the gaps between the land and stuff. So you can actually see how the volcanoes and everything that are on the west side are actually, they're touching part of it, the actual landmass of Antarctica, but not all of it. It looks just like all the stuff we've been seeing with Nick, because I think that's what it is. So it probably got like frozen in place from the ice before it all accreted.
Well, that gets shoved down in subsidence because of the ice. Then resurgent, when the ice melts, it rises up, creates earthquakes, and expands.
And it's all along that same line of volcanoes. That's where all the earthquakes usually are, right?
Yeah, that's called crustal rebound, bud.
Yeah. Resurgence, crustal rebound.
But I have that article, so they have all the pictures and everything in it. So
in summary, what you're saying is on a rabbit hole in your private studies, we've discussed a plausible reoccurrence of events that are related to other events rather than the randomness. Oh, they're just random. They break whenever they want. We don't know why. Your supposition as well as mine, but in how you articulate it, I love, because it's the river that's moving, right? And it's got the ice, and as it starts to melt, it breaks up, and then they slam into each other. That's what the plates are doing. And you can follow the earthquakes along the plate boundaries. However, there are known plate boundaries. Either the old ones or new ones forming, we don't know. But there seems to be other events that go on. And many of these we'll call lineaments.
And spreading ridges or rifts are really basically doing the same thing, because they're pushing it away on both sides.
And that, as we've seen over and over and over and over and over, when the North Atlantic does its thing along the rift, we see events happen on both sides. Yeah. And primarily because of my focus,
I'm focused on the northern mid-Atlantic ridge and what it's doing to North America and Europe. Well, and technically the northern part of Asia too, because Eurasia is pushing.
It's pushing it around the corner, which pushes it underneath the North
American. So even in Japan and all that, it's still adjusting to the mid-Atlantic ridge. So it's just crazy stuff. Start thinking about it, and that's just from the northern mid-Atlantic ridge point of view. But you could do it for the southern mid-Atlantic ridge with South America too.
I mean, on our map is 30 days of earthquakes, 30 days only. The yellow ones are the ones that are like a week old. The orange ones are happening within the last couple of days. The white ones are up to the month away. You can clearly see activity, and there is a semi pattern that persists. And it's not like we're well, why did an earthquake happen over here, over here, over here, over here, over here? Well, there's a reason. And that reason is because of the pressure, the Coulomb stress, the uplifting, the volcanics, the plate boundaries, and the way the plates are moving, the direction of the plates, and subduction, all of those things all come into play. And so we don't try to focus on just one event. We say, well, what does that event tell us about the next event or the past events? And can we see and can we conclude based on, studying these other events? Well, there's pretty good supposition to say they're all semi-related. So I think that's what I think that's primarily what we're talking about from the Lisbon quake being related to the Katla eruption, being related to a major earthquake on the northern part of Iceland. And if we went back 1 or 2 years, you would see that Egyptian had Egypt had a major quake. Tunis had a major quake. Uh, 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 I don't know if it was Istanbul, but Turkey had a major quake. So we can see moving. I bet you if we went back even during that time of 1754, if they ever kept records up in the stands or in India or Burma, whenever it was, or even Indonesia, Taiwan, and Japan, we would see a series of earthquakes working through that all the way into the Mediterranean, coming that pressure moving in there, and then what that pressure does is it forces a magma or waves of energy that get brought up to Iceland, and it just pops. So the path moves through Europe, from Turkey, from India, from Indonesia, from the Pacific, from the North American. They're all pushing up on each other on all these boundaries. So when we saw this 6.5 that happened a couple of days ago here, I said, well, look out over here on the West Coast. Somewhere on the West Coast, we should see some activity. Well, it looks like, there's a 5.1 right there, right? Here's another one, a 5.0, right? This was a larger quake, 6.5, but look at how far it's got to go. It's almost directly across.
Yeah.
And then, so the
And Mike,
when,
I'll give another example. Like when I was looking up the 900s to figure out why the Seattle fault quake happened, well, now they know it was like 924 or 923 or whatever. They have the exact date now, so it was like the early 900s.
Well, 900s.
I did a bunch of studies on the other faults, and New Madrid went off in 900.
Yeah, 900 New Madrid. Yeah.
Yeah, and so did Mears Fault in Oklahoma.
In Southern Cal.
Yeah. And they think now, there was multiple thrust faults that went off between 900 and 925 if you find the John Dolan article.
And I think there's a volcanic activity in the Grand Canyon that happened really close to that era as well.
Yeah, and they said, when I looked up the Iceland volcanoes, they said there was like 7 going off, like 900 to 924. And also Reykjanes was acting up too, same as what it is now, 900. So we have a bunch of the components of that already, just not as bad.
They kind of build a supposition, right?
Yeah.
They kind of build it up.
So that's the stuff that I'm trying to look at to figure out. But to me, it would make sense because that would mean the Mid-Atlantic Ridge was super active, so it was pushing on North America. So you're having all these adjustments, not just on the West Coast, but the whole way across. So New Madrid was acting up, and Oklahoma was acting up, and this was all way before there was any oil or fracking. See? So it has nothing to do with that. How it works is based upon how it works and what it's been doing for as far as we can go back that we can find information. And the San Francisco thing that I wanted to go over tonight, because they figured all the ones that happened on all the faults around San Francisco between 1600 and 1800. So when we did our study before, we were talking about all the ones in the 1800s and 1900s, right? Well, in this study that I got sent to me, because it's hard to find it online, I guess, because it came in my Google thing. There was a chart in there where they broke it all down and listed all the quakes that happened on each fault. And they have like each segment, and they list like all the trenches and everything. So they have it right down to the exact year. And for the purpose of this study they did in 2014, they were taking ones that went back like 20, 30 years, where they've been studying all the trenches on the various faults around San Francisco. So San Andreas, Hayward, Calaveras, a whole bunch of them. And they broke it all down into a chart and gave a list of all the quakes from 1600 to 1800 and what year they went off and what segment of the fault it was on. So they would say like San Andreas North, or like Hayward North, or Hayward South, or so that lists them all in this chart, and that's what I wanted to go over tonight, just to show like how there's like breaks in between, and then you get a whole bunch together.
All right. Well, you put the chart up there in chat, and we'll grab it.
Yeah. Well, it's on my phone.
Okay.
It's inside the
All right.
thing.
Send it an email or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know if they'll let me do it inside the Google Mail. I'll try, but
why, you guys are being taxed on that too?
Yeah. So it's crazy.
He lives in commie.
I can send you the actual abstract to it because I have that up here.
Do we call you Canada? Commie Canada? Poor you. I just I feel sorry for you, bud.
Sorry, bud. I do, man. I feel.
My oldest friend is from Canada. Yeah, he just got remarried here the other day.
Well, Trump actually started making his millions. Trump's grandfather in Canada, if you actually study it.
Oh, good.
Pretty interesting. He was up by the Yukon.
Right on.
BC started his hotel. That's how he started making all his money. Trump's grandfather.
Right on.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story.
Well, some people can get jealous. I'm not.
And then Trump's father, that's where he got his money to go to.
In New York.
University, and started all his real estate stuff, Trump's father. So that's pretty crazy stuff. So it all goes back to the gold rush in the Yukon. Because Friedrich Trump came over from Germany, went to New York City, and then that was when the gold rush was in the Yukon. And he said, oh, cool, I'm going to go up there and make a whole bunch of money. That's what he did.
Yeah.
So that's how the Trump fortune started.
Right on.
By getting, because he ran a hotel that was, the town was called Bennett, and it was on the border of BC and Yukon. And that's what Trump ran while the gold rush was going on. And then when the gold rush ended, he moved back to New York City. And that's when he had Trump's father was born in New York City and started his real estate empire. So that's how Trump ended up getting all his money. So it's quite the story. It all started with gold
Trump
rush.
took out a loan, a sizable loan, mind you, but he took out a loan. You think about this. Take a loan for a house. It's damn near $1 million today. You know, $500,000, $1 million. It's nothing. He was wanting to buy a building out of $1 million. So it was to the building. And look what he did with it. He paid his dad back, and he built an empire himself. His dad didn't build the Trump empire. Trump did.
Yep.
Yeah, but he was already into real estate, though. The father Trump.
The father was, yeah. Granted, he built up a part of.
Just added to it.
Yeah, and then Trump, no, he more than added to it. He doubled, tripled it. He damn near built the skyline in New York. You know, some of it anyway. So a much richer area, and so there's the guy is relatively smart. People might disagree with him, but whatever. You know, there's most of it's talk out of jealousy. I could care less what he made.
I think so.
You know, I applaud him for trying to stop the damn war. We don't want the war. We never wanted it, but our governments wanted it. Why? Well, I think we learned about the World Bank back then, and we learned about the assurance that the World Bank has with countries like Ukraine. They're going to divide Ukraine up and say, well, you faltered on your loan, so we're going to take all of it now. You know, hey, Trump reaching out for that rare earth stuff. That's a slap in the face to the Europeans. You know, and what? Yeah, because we're not in it. You know, we're in the World Bank, but we're $350 billion, and we just gave it away. We didn't get a loan, so now all the Europeans got loans. It just gets me. Oh, they want their money back. Yeah, pay up. Anyway, so yeah, I get out of Europe too. We could save a lot of money if we got out of Europe.
Yeah,
Now
but
talk about us
we,
wanting to Hungary now.
we originally came from Europe, though. So really,
Well, did you? I was born here in America, dude. I'm an American. I'm not a
yeah.
European.
But if you go back through, if your ancestors on either side, that's what you'll find.
My ancestors come back to 1600s here, 1690 here in the United States.
Yeah.
And they got it all the way back to there. So the start of white people being here, or brown people, whatever the hell they were.
Well, I think I'm French now too, based upon the
Oh yeah.
studies my cousin has found. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He traced us back to on my dad's side to
Oh, he did.
1754.
You're too tall for that, dude. Nah. You're probably, I gotta say, you're probably Gaelic or something, or you're probably Norse. You know, that came in there because you're too damn tall to be a Frenchman. I mean, they're little shorties. The French are small. Your stature is, you're a big boy.
Well, everybody here in Canada's bigger, based on
that's because you're Norwegian.
what they are compared to like what my uncles and stuff were. They were all short, but all the cousins are all like gigantic. Now.
Probably because you know they got in bed with a Norwegian. You know.
Well, no, there's Indian on my mom's side.
Oh, you're Indian too now?
Oh yeah, I'm like everything. Everybody's
Pocahontas.
everything.
Pocahontas. He's a Pocahontas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I'm
on my
teasing
mom's
you, brother.
side. Yeah. Somebody we're indigenous. We're from France and England. And
Yeah.
I think now, based upon what my cousin, because he's been doing the genealogy, he traced the North America stuff back to 1754.
Did he give somebody his blood to do some tracing for him?
I don't know if he did or not. He never told me that. But.
Well, if he did, that was just to see how far a certain group is looking for. They're looking for a certain group of people. So all these blood banks, all these things that you send your blood. Oh, well, check out my DNA. Okay, you're not what we're looking for. So they'll send you.
I never had to send my blood in. But he just told me all this stuff anyway. So
no, they can tell you bloodline. Yeah, the bloodline's not holy. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's
my
what they're looking for.
ancestor was in Nova Scotia in 1754, and he can't go back any further than that. Well, 1754 was the same year as the Acadian expulsion. So the British kicked out all the French people out of Nova Scotia.
They were having a war, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it goes back to a kid, but my cousin can't find out who this kid was born to or whatever. And all of a sudden he appears with an English name. So it's my theory. I said, well, what if he was an orphan kid that was French and some of the British people adopted him because nobody wanted him if he was like an orphan. And I said, well, maybe that's why we're good at speaking French. Because when I took French, the people from Quebec thought I was actually from Quebec.
Yeah, my wife is French Canadian, so I know. Mom's like 5 foot. That's how tall she is. She's a little tiny one. My wife's only 5'1".
And I didn't know this till like recently, but like when I picked the university I went to Acadia University. Well, guess where that is? Nova Scotia, right?
Nova Scotia, buddy.
Right where all the Acadians were expelled from.
So you're an Acadian.
Yeah, because I felt like very at home when I was there around all the French things. So it was pretty crazy, which I didn't know that like the last year or so. Like on my mom's side, it goes back to England and William of Orange and all that stuff.
Oh, shit.
So it's crazy stuff. So I'm like English, French, probably part indigenous. Everything else. I should go.
I think you're part Norse too, being 6'3", dude. Come on now. You're no Frenchman.
Maybe, but
they know maybes.
All my cousins on both sides are both fairly.
You're a giant, man. You're a giant. You could just accept it. You're a giant.
Crazy potatoes we eat in Canada.
Yeah, right.
Make
Americans
you
are
grow
taller
Came
because
over with
they
the
eat a lot
Vi-
of beef, you know.
Yeah,
He came
because
over with the
when all of
Viking.
us male cousins got together, they always said we looked like a football team or a basketball team. If you
Oh,
put
yeah.
us all together, it's like playing.
My family came over in the 1690s, and my grandfather and my grandmother each had like 10 kids each. So they came over and they started an orphanage, I think. 20 kids in a family. Can you believe that shit? That's
Ooh.
how do you feel?
The 1754 thing, the Acadian expulsion, which all the French got sent to Louisiana. That's where the Cajuns come
Okay.
from.
All right.
Because Cajun is the slang term for Acadians. So
Yeah,
that's why you have New Orleans and the French Quarter.
Yeah.
That's what
We went to the Carolinas, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas, and then over to Utah, and then down into Arizona in the last 100 years. So we've been in AZ and Cali. So we went from the deep south to the far west. You know,
crazy stuff. So that
Mhm.
would have been the year before the Lisbon quake and all that other crazy stuff.
Yeah, there you go. 1755, man.
To see it all goes back, you can connect all these crazy.
I think my family was in Carolinas when I don't know if it's in north or south yet. I have to look it up. During that same time period.
Yeah.
You know?
Whenever the Louisiana Purchase was, whatever year that was. I can't remember.
Wow, that's further west, yeah. But during the Charlotte quake, you know?
Yeah,
Wasn't that like
1884.
1803?
Or no, 1886 was Charleston.
Charleston.
1884 was Andalusia, Spain, and New York City quake.
It's when the Washington tilted or something.
Yeah, and then in 1887, so it would have been the year after, was the Sonora quake after Charleston.
Yeah, and that's where we started the rabbit holes. 1887. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. All right, so you want to talk about San Francisco?
Yeah, so I'm just going to read off the list of quakes. I think there's like 8 or 9 from 600
Do we have
from
a map?
1600 to 1800.
Do we have a
And
map?
I'm going to read off. I don't have the chart up, but I have the study.
All right, put the study in there, and I'll put the chart up, and you can read it.
Control C.
Did you fix your keyboard yet?
No, that's on the laptop. I can't do anything about it because it's going to blow anyway.
No.
Yeah, because it's just too old.
There you go.
So that's the actual study.
All right.
But the table is inside it. They sent to me my Google Mail.
Window. This is the one?
I already know about the ones after 1800. So for this purpose, I'm just going to read off the ones from 1600 to 1800.
Okay.
And for this study,
1600 to 2012. That's what this one is.
Yeah, that's
San Francisco region by Schwartz, Lynn Kemper, Hecker, Kelson, Fumo, Baldwin, Seitz, and Nemi.
Yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, I'm only going to go over the ones between 1600 and 1800.
All right, go for it.
For this study, they picked any ones that they figured out based upon the trenching. They think that were like 6 and higher. So they don't give the actual mag, but they say what fault it was on, like where they did the trench, which I'm not going to.
Oh, okay, good. I can get to the GIA then. Not the GIA, but the faults of California. Cancel. Right over here.
Yeah.
and this will. I'll let you read the extract.
So I'm just gonna give like what
Crap.
fault segment it was on, and they don't give a mag for each one. They just say it was most likely above 6
Okay.
for this study, based upon the rupture they found from doing the trenches. So the first one is in the year 1600 itself, and it was on the San Andreas P. So I'm assuming like Pacific side on in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they have it different markings depending on which section it is. So it says for the fault segment, they have it abbreviated SAP. So they think it was like off the coast in the Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So 1600. So they think that was a 6+. Well, all these are 6+. Now the next one they have in 1610, and they have it on Calaveras Green Valley together.
Wow. Here's the Calaveras Fault right through here. Here's Green Valley up here. So it's up in this Concord region.
Yeah. So they think that was a 6+.
All right.
Now, the next one they have 1624. They have San Andreas southern section. So
that would be way down here.
Yeah, so this would have been before the 1691 that they've figured out recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one they have, that was in 1624. The next one they have is 1629, and they have that on Hayward Fault southern section.
Hayward Fault is right here. Hayward Fault right through here.
So now I'm going to break this down. So in 29 years from 1600 to 1629, they had 4 6+ at least on around San Francisco. So that's like 4 in 29 years. So that's like quite a few all at once.
Right. So we saw earthquakes up here, up in here, and then now you're saying on the peninsula of San Francisco or in the area of San Francisco.
Yeah, all these ones would be felt in the area of San Francisco.
All right.
So they just give what segment they think it was on.
Right.
They don't give like the exact location, because it's just based upon whatever trenches they did. Like in the same chart, it gives all the names where they did the trenches, but of course that doesn't mean anything to most of us unless you live there.
Right.
Then you would know where it was and what they were talking about.
Right.
So now the next quake after that is in 1705. So this would have been 5 years after Cascadia. Hayward Fault North went off with 6+.
That's up here.
Yeah.
That's Hayward Fault North right here.
Yeah. So we had quite a break in between 1629 and 1705. So like whatever.
75 years, yeah.
Yeah. Now the next one they have is in 1725, and that was on Hayward Fault South.
Down here. So that's a double whammy on the Hayward South.
Yeah. So it went north in 1705, and then 20 years later, in 1725, it went Hayward South.
2 significant quakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the next one they have, 1735, San Andreas North went off.
Up here. That would be the northern section of San Andreas.
Yeah.
Which is
but they have how many other ones here? 4 other ones that same year, which I assume were probably aftershocks, because they have San Andreas North 3 times, and then they have San Andreas SAO. I don't know what O is.
Oh, San Mateo, maybe.
Yeah, maybe down
San Andreas.
So, so I assume they're all aftershocks because they're all listed under 1735.
Okay.
And I guess they must have been able to tell.
So it was a significant quake, 6.5 or plus, or 6 above, that happened in 1725 or 17.
This was 1735, so it would have been 10 years after the Hayward Southquake, the San Andreas.
All right.
And they have like 5 listed there, all in that same year.
Well, it's interesting how the interior was rocking pretty good. Then it went to the central and it rocked pretty good. And then the exterior is rocking pretty good right now, over 90 years.
Oh, SAO, they said is offshore. So it did it on land and offshore both at the same time. So that's what SAO means.
All right.
Because they have 5 different trenches they did in 5 different places, and this 1735 showed up in 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it either was the same quake or aftershocks, I guess, depending on where it was, if they picked it up. So then the next one, let me see the year here. Scroll over. 1740. So here we're like between, this section we're doing now is between 1725 and 1740. 1740, Calaveras North went off.
Calaveras North, right up here.
1740.
That's right out here. Diablo Mountain right here. Franklin Fault, Concord Fault. Here's a Pleasanton. Calaveras goes all the way right up into here. The Haywards on the interior of these mountains right through here. The Calaveras goes right up in here, ends up into the Franklin Fault, which comes in into and joins the Rogers Creek on the other side, which Rogers Creek is a new name of an older fault. They broke it up. So the Calaveras is right through here.
So that was 1740.
Further.
So that was 1740. So in 1745, Rogers Creek Fault went off.
There you go. Connected.
Yeah. So now the next one, 1750. They have SGB or SJB, whatever that is.
What does it tell you?
I don't know. I got to look at the.
Yeah.
Like in the chart, it's just giving me the abbreviations. I'd have to look at it.
Well, the SJB, it could be San Jose, or San Juan Bautista.
Yeah, San Juan Bautista. That's what it is.
It's down here. San Juan Bautista is down here.
Yeah. So that's
where the 1906 quake is from.
Yeah, 1750. That was
right here. This region here. It's Gilroy, right? San Juan, Joaquin Fault up here, or Ortega Licky, Alita, Calaveras, Madrone Springs, Coyote Creek, right? Sargent Fault, Queen Sabin Faults, Piscenes Faults from the Calaveras, all up in this region right here.
Yeah. And then the final one they have in 1759 was SG, so San Gregorino.
SG, San Gregorio, yeah. That's offshore, and that's one goes right through Monterey Bay, off the coast of San Francisco. That's the San Gregorio. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's all the ones they have between 1600 and 1800. We talked about the 1800 ones before. So in that time period, go back into the chart again. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 quakes between 1600 and 1800 in the San Francisco area that they think that were like above 6.
San Francisco gets 6, is right? Plus. Yeah.
Well, they don't know. Like it could have been a 7 or whatever.
Correct. It's
for
6, yeah, 6 plus.
Yeah, for this study, they're saying based upon the trenches they did and what they saw in the multiple trenches, they think it had to be at least higher than a 6.
In the fear of Southern Cal going as a contrast, the fear of Southern Cal going is so much more heightened than that San Francisco for some reason. It could be just the talk that if you're in the news, you'll up there they'll talk more versus down there, and they talk their talk more. The big one in Los Angeles, the big one in Los Angeles. Well, San Francisco's had a ton of big ones, and the biggest in LA, in a smaller part of LA, the more dense, 6.7 is the largest. Now, the greater Los Angeles has the 7.3, couple of 7.1s. And then you go back, in years. Those are just the last 50 years. But 7.6 is the largest, and that was the Tajon, or I guess they centered it even up here in Central California, Coalinga. They said that was a 7.6, the Bakersfield quake. And then right here is, Tajon, like we had a 5 or something right here in Wheeler Ridge. And they called it Fraser Park, right? So you remember all that just this last year, and talk about that quite extensively. And then we've had several quakes, swarms in Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles, yeah, but in Los Angeles County, in Ventura County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, and Riverside County. So a lot of things happening. And if we went to the USGS and took a look at it, current trend, there's only one quake south 3.3 in the Delta. But if we looked at the 7 days, 4 and above, nothing down here, nothing up there.
Yeah, because this academia thing I'm signed up for now. So if I read a study about a particular area, they'll start sending me.
They'll start sending you stuff. Yeah, that's what the other one does for me too.
Yeah, and that's what it's doing.
I do a search, and also you start
seeing all these ones on San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helping me with all my other.
Right, here's the form.
Yeah, this works. Now I could take all these numbers and find out what it was doing that year in other places now too, if I wanted to. But I haven't done that yet.
Right. The reason I asked Canuck also to talk about this was I saw a couple of people online, and they were borderline fear mongering. Telling how San Francisco is going to have a major earthquake, and this because of 2,000 earthquakes. There's anecdotal evidence that there's going to be a quake, but they're kind of forecasting it. And I always say there's a place of interest, we'll watch it, but forecasting we don't do. But even right now, there's a 1.3 in Hollister. So this area has been very active, but the greater, San Francisco area, the fear mongering is that there's a major quake pending, and it's going to be pretty damn massive. And that's why I asked Canuck, let's talk about that. Because there is.
Well, based upon what we know now from looking at this, it had 4 quakes between 1600 and 1629. So that was like 29 years. And then there was like a break till 1705, 1725. And then from 1725 to 1759, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we know about the 1800s because we looked that up the other time. So,
Yep.
so we had 1838, we had 1860, 1868, all leading into
1906. Yeah.
1906. So it's kind of the same thing there. You had a whole bunch, and like,
Well, you can see, you
whatever.
can probably deduce that the 1755 earthquake being a 9, that's what the belief is anyway, that it was a 9. Major quake, major quake. The whole West Coast has to adjust. And it took 200 years to adjust.
Yeah.
Southern Cal, I think we've studied Southern Cal, and 1812, and early in 1812s, they had in that era there was a couple of big quakes. In the 1860s, there was another group of large quakes, and I don't recall. I don't think there's anything else significant since early 1900s. But
I was just going to ask that. Was there a big drop off after the early 1900s quakes?
Well, there was, we have Long Beach, right? It wasn't 7, but it's in the 6s.
Yeah, if you add, like, say, high 5s, 6s.
Yeah.
Because for this study, they're assuming ones that could be felt, right? So they're saying, like, so when I read an early part in the study, they said maybe 5.5, but they were assuming based upon how much movement there was in the trenches that they dug, they figured they had to be at least 6s because they could see it when they were digging the trenches and figuring out when the quakes happened. Because when they first started doing it, they had an age range, but then when they did all the other stuff there that we had explained in all those videos we watched, how they like take the dirt out and put it under the whatever that light is that they can figure out when the rupture actually happened, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all the stuff they do when they dig those trenches in different places to figure out, and then they find out if it's like in another trench where they dug in another spot.
Right.
And
they can find the same material somewhere there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they find out that 2, like multiple trenches recorded the same one, well, then they knew it was big enough to show up in 2 different places. And like it lists all the studies that each of these are from. Like there's even Goldfinger ones in here. So they list like what studies they took this from and put it into all this one big study that was from 1600 to 2012. Like I imagine I could probably dig and eventually find ones for like Los Angeles and stuff too. I just haven't found them yet.
Well, you'd have to go into the buyers, the Spaniards, they had it back then. On the map you see here 6 aboves from 1700 onward. And excuse me, including Mexico, by the way. You can see the concentration of where in California they happen, right? In the central part, right up here, the southern part of San Francisco. These are 6s, mind you. 1700 above. We talked about these ones up here already, but these are the ones down here that are most people think happened in San Francisco themselves, but they don't understand, the earthquakes didn't happen in San Francisco. 1906, they have an epicenter right there offshore. 7.9. That's pretty damn big.
Yeah.
So all we can say is from this data going back to the 1600s, it likes having multiple big quakes around San Francisco, like in time periods close together.
Mm-hmm.
So like 30, 40, 50 year time
1838.
period. Yeah, where you get like a bunch all close together and then it goes quiet.
Now, USGS is done some funny stuff, but this is the epicenter of the World Series earthquake in Santa Cruz Mountains.
Yeah. There's a whole separate study on Santa Cruz Mountains that they sent me to, but I haven't read that one yet.
Here's a 1838 7.4.
Way
and
far.
then 1906. The 1868 6.8 Hayward, and then Alameda 6, San Jose 6, 6.2, and Morgan Hill, Santa Clara 6.1, 6.1 San Jose, 6.2 San Jose, San Jose 6.5, and 1838 San Andreas 7.4. That'd be basically Centerville, Saratoga. I've driven all these mountains. Beautiful country. But these ones down here, 1897, 6.3, 6.4, 1880, 1836, Bautista, 1840, 6.5, 1841, 6.0, 1883, 6.0. So trying to get to 1897 and 1883. This one, then this one, or first this one. So 1899, 1890. So all of these in that same 1800 range. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 quakes. Very strong quakes.
And we had a big gap between 1906 and 1989. So there was 83 years. So that's kind of our weird pattern.
Yeah, Morgan Hill was 1911, had a 6.5. Here's a 1903, before 1906, right? 1865, 1903 here. So 1903, there were a couple of quakes in southern San Jose, 6s, right? And then here's the 1984. That's way, way, way late. Then 1911. So then here's the 89, 7 or 6.9 Loma Prieta.
So it's kind of the same thing. There was a few close together. Then there's the quake. So it's kind of doing the same thing then, 1800s and 1900s, and now we're in the 2 lots.
It looks like
but I don't know if this one
60, 81, 80. Looks like they jump about every 20, 30 years in this range. And this range here is the Diablo or the biggin, right? They don't even have it on there. Here it is right here, I think. 7.9 Tajon. See, it's 7.9. I heard it's 7.6. These things are changing all the time in 1857, right?
Yeah, it just depends.
And here's the 1952 was a 7.5. I mean 1952, right? Here was 1857. 2 quakes, 52, almost 100 years apart. Major quakes on the northern edge of the San Andreas.
Yeah, and like this study that I was getting the data from, they're not including Maycomma Fault or Bartlett Springs on it, which there's new studies on those that they have the actual when they went off too.
Yeah, that's up in the north up here.
Yeah, so they're only including the ones that are in the San Francisco region. So they stop it at the end of Rogers Creek and at the end of the Valley Fall in the north.
And
they go down as far as San Juan, Bautista, and
right
where Calaveras ends.
Right here, right in this region. So there's a large area of larger quakes here, large area down here, and then you see some on the other side of the Bay Area. Then right here in the northern boundary, most of them are north of the Mendocino Ridge. most of them. Then you have out past Lassen, Carson City, right? A swarm. Then, of course, down 395. And that's Ridgecrest and all that. And then down to San Andreas down here. And you can see we're clusters. It's the clusters that they should tell us something. Like even out Flagstaff, 6'2", 1906, 1912, 1910. I got to think that if San Francisco goes off, Flagstaff's going off. So
yeah, we haven't done the Arizona quakes, but
no,
there was ones in 1906, right after San Francisco, and also New Mexico had crazy quakes in 1906 too.
Right.
Right.
And of course, what started us all, the 1887 Sonoran Mexican earthquake, 7.6, that happened. That started us off in our rabbit holes. It's good old days. Yeah. we studied a lot since then. And yeah. 8.1, 1932, Colima. Wow. 7.8, Colima, 1932. 1995.
Right, we could go back for each one of those quakes and then looked up how
it affected everywhere else. Yeah.
But that would take us.
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, to do 11 quakes from 1600 to 1800.
Right.
You could do it though, because you just got to use the GIA thing.
The GIA thing, yeah.
Figure it out. So you can do this for you can just pick a certain area and go back and figure it all out and figure out where they all came from happening.
Right.
Like I said, there's probably some supercomputer somewhere doing this right now. AI figuring out all things.
But they have to be able to see it, to see the trend, and then ask the computer to do it. Computers aren't alive. They don't do this unless they're programmed to look for patterns or some criteria. So, I mean, they're not, they don't have a consciousness. Although they love to think they do. It's just the way it's working. It's a fake consciousness, and it's
well, they say right now humans currently
programming.
only use 10% of their brain. So imagine if we were using 100%, how smart we would be. We'd be way smarter than any computer.
Well, we were so
we're
smart.
just a bio-
We're so smart. We still sinned against the Lord. So, it is what it is. It's innate in our flesh to be fallible, and programming is what creates computers. Computers they're not alive. We created them. Now, hey, there's subroutines. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. If this happens, do this. If it happens, do that. And you get a billion subroutines and conditions, and then you say, okay, well, automatically create a template to create a new condition. Oh, yeah, this thing's alive now because it's thinking for itself. No, it's all programming.
Well, unless the AI is taken over by something else.
Well, that's another rabbit hole.
Then it is a lot. It's just you don't want to deal with it.
That's another rabbit hole, yeah. Well, anyway, Luke, do you have anything that kind of like piqued your interest here in the discussion today that made you say, well, I kind of want to know a little bit more about that, or if you have a comment that you'd like to, put out there and say, hey, this was really cool, or this something that, just a comment. I don't want to feed your
I like to try and figure out the repeating patterns. You see a big quake here, and then you look into the past, and you've seen it in the same area before. Well, then you look ahead from that quake to kind of try and figure out maybe where, your next big quake's going to be. And, it's kind of I say it a lot of times. It's a revolving pattern, you know,
Mhm.
and it's fun to learn that, to kind of maybe just put your mind into gear and, well, where's the next one going to be then? You know?
Yeah. Well, you may not be able to get it to the exact spot, but you can get
Yeah,
into
you're
it.
never going to get it 100% precise, you know, time, date, or location. But you can say, well, God, you know, within this next 30 days or this next 6 months or this next year in this little conglomerate of an area, you know, we might see another bigger quake here. So it's
Yeah.
kind of in the front of your mind. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, bingo. See, told you.
Yeah. And the last two SoCal quakes, the 4 and the 3, one was on the Verdugo fault from the newest stuff I read just in the last couple of days, and the other one that was out by Malibu was on an unnamed fault that they don't have a name.
Yeah.
Right.
That's still the Malibu sector. You know,
Yeah.
it's all part of that same thing. Santa Monica, all the Malibus. Well, anyway, I got something I want to share here. Go ahead. See if this works. I'm hoping it does.
Seems to be.
I don't hear a word.
No sound on it, bud.
I don't got sound on it either.
No, I don't.
I don't hear it either. I'm trying to work on that right now. There it is. I'll have to replay it. Shoot.
Geomatic storms, and near-Earth asteroids and comets.
All right. Let's start that over, everybody.
3, 2, 1.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Joe of the Joe Slick Live Show. My interactive live show is on twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and occasionally in the evenings at 7. During the live show, I review and talk about reports from government, private, and other reporting agencies and websites regarding celestial and terrestrial phenomena. Topics will include solar flares, sunspots, geomatic storms, and near-Earth asteroids and comets that are being monitored around the world. Included in the report is current events in the last 12 to 24 hours here on Earth, consisting of volcanic, seismic, and weather events. I close the morning report off with what's happening in the local and world news. Thank you, and you can be a part of the morning report by going to twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Look forward to seeing you there, and remember, don't get none on you.
And you can subscribe, like, and share. Hit the bell button and the thumbs up. Like this, share this video. All right, everybody. Love you. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening. Kanaki, you have anything you would like to add for closing up?
No, that's it. We already did 2 hours. So
oh, yeah. 2 hours, 23 minutes. We rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
We
Good night.
do Antarctica, but we can talk about that another day.
I think Antarctica needs it to be by itself, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we need a good solid night just on that.
yeah. But Flutter Girl came out there. Oh, sorry, Flutter. You just missed us. But you'll find us over on Rumble. You'll find us over there on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Peace out. Remember, don't get none on you.